There's a crisis brewing within Team Trump, and a very bold and unconventional prediction is at the heart of today's breaking story. It's no secret that Trump is privately freaking out over the low poll numbers and lackluster performance of his running mate J.D. Vance. And in today's news, coming up in a minute, you'll see that it's rapidly approaching DEFCON 1. But first, let's see what the media is saying about Vance's unique superpower of putting the Trump train in reverse at full steam.
There is some polling about how J.D. Vance might actually be dragging down the ticket overall. So let's take a look at that, and I'll give you more details.
We take a look at the net favorable rating for J.D. Vance. That's a favorable minus unfavorable. It's in negative net territory. Look at that, -6 points. I will tell you, Aaron, I have gone all the way back since 1980. He is the first guy after immediately following a convention, a VP pick, who actually had a net negative favorable rating. That is underwater. The average since 2000 is plus 19 points. J.D. Vance making history in the completely wrong way.
There's more good news for the Harris campaign in the form of bad news for Trump's running mate, Ohio Senator and toddler in front of you on an airplane, J.D. Vance. Traditionally, after the conventions, the VP boosts the favorability rating of the ticket. But according to the polls, J.D. Vance is the least liked VP nominee in decades. He's even more unpopular than Grover Cleveland's running mate, Eustace T. Baby Puncher.
So exactly what happened in the last 24 hours that's sending seismic shock waves of second guessing through the Trump camp? I have that in a few seconds, but first, Trump saw Vance as a protege and selected him for the role of puppet that Mike Pence did not accept. And Trump, a self-proclaimed media expert, completely guessed wrong on his partner's charisma and likability. J.D. Vance has had the worst week of any VP hopeful since Sarah Palin, and it's getting worse. That's because when you juxtapose JD's Titanic-like sinking and the optics of an all-male, all-misogynistic ticket versus Kamala Harris's rocket-like trajectory and the enthusiasm of women who now feel represented and inspired, it spells trouble for the mayor of Mar-a-Lago and his mentee.
I remember when Trump had announced that J.D. Vance was his VP pick. You know, I follow conservative media. I want to know what they're saying. I want to understand their perspective. They weren't really happy with J.D. Vance. They couldn't really understand why Trump took the risk of going with Vance. Polls have consistently shown that the proportion of women planning to vote for him this November is smaller, meaning vote for Trump, is smaller this November than those who did in 2020. That's what I was referring to earlier. And Vance has nothing to offer Trump on this score. Quite the reverse. He risks compounding his boss's problem.
So what is today's bombshell that could rock the Republican world with a big change? Here's a clip from CNN to set the stage.
There's a non-zero chance the Republicans take their vice presidential candidate off the ticket.
J.D. Vance?
You hide and watch, Jake, hide and watch. It's a burden always being right. And to be able to see the future as clearly as I can.
And here's the context from Newsweek, and it contains a crazy prediction on how the Republicans will solve their not being liked by women problem, and a prelude to Donald Trump saying,
"I'm sorry, you're fired. Get out of here."
An ex-advisor to former President Bill Clinton has predicted that former President Donald Trump will remove Senator J.D. Vance as his vice presidential pick. Rumors of Trump suffering buyer's remorse after choosing Vance as his 2024 running mate have been rampant since President Joe Biden dropped out of the race and endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as the likely Democratic presidential nominee. While Trump has publicly insisted that he is happy with Vance, saying the senator has been doing a fantastic job and has been very well received by the public during a Fox News interview on Thursday, worries remain about whether the Ohio senator could be a liability for Republicans in November. Paul Begala, who served as White House advisor and chief strategist during Clinton's successful 1992 campaign, suggested during a CNN appearance on Thursday night that Trump may decide to ditch Vance in favor of former United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley. Begala said during a panel discussion on Jake Tapper's interview with Haley, which aired minutes earlier, the former ambassador was campaigning for the VP slot and that Democrats had already set a precedent by changing their ticket. He's not good on the stump, he continued. I don't like Trump, but he's really charismatic. JD, so far, just dull. Begala went on to ponder what a different race we would have if Trump had chosen Haley over Vance, arguing that she would act as a bridge to potential swing voters coveted by both parties. Trump is not good with long relationships, Begala concluded, and he's not going to hang in there with JD. While Haley might have a broader appeal to undecided voters than Vance, her status as the last Republican to mount a primary challenge against Trump, when the former president often referred to her as bird brain, may make the scenario unlikely. Haley endorsed Trump at last week's Republican National Convention. However, she warned Republicans while campaigning earlier this year that Trump becoming the GOP nominee would lead to Democrats winning in November. Trump said in May that Haley was not under consideration as his VP pick. Trump's decision to pick Vance as his running mate, which was announced less than 48 hours after the former president survived an assassination attempt, has prompted concerns about the Republican ticket's appeal to women following Biden's decision to drop out of the race. And now I have a treat and some questions for you. While I play the treat, a video from the Lincoln Project that pours salt on Trump's vice presidential wound, please comment below with your thoughts. Do you think J.D. Vance is a short-timer? And if so, is there a world where Nikki Haley is asked and she accepts? And if not Haley, who?
Sorry, Donald. Even we almost feel bad for you.
What the hell happened? What happened?
I mean, a little. You like to think you're a smart guy, but lately, you've been taking some really bad advice.
To be the next vice president.
They told you to pick him?
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him.
Have you figured it out yet? He's like DeSantis, only less charismatic.
Are you blind?
I had a Diet Mountain Dew yesterday. It's good.
Weird, awkward, creepy, terrible on TV.
I love you guys.
He's going to cost you votes and embarrass you. They assured you he was great.
Fundamentally divisive, arrogant.
Do you hate Mexicans?